everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, where it's our show where we review things in the world of television. However, today we are doing a predictions episode where for the last 13 or so weeks, we've been reviewing the hopeful first season of Walker Independence. As of right now, we don't know if we're going to get a season 2 at the point. It has not been renewed, nor has it been canceled. So this is kind of like just future-proofing. If we do get a season 2, great. If we don't get a season 2, well, let's not think about that. So that's why we're here today. So if you have been watching me for the last 13 reviews, welcome back. If you're just a fan and you're just curious to hear someone talk about what they hope to see in season 2, should we get a pickup, here I am. Just to let you know, just in case, we will be spoiling everything from the first season of Walker Independence. So if you have not yet seen the show, you can go check it out. All the episodes are now on thecw.com for free. No subscription needed. You just go on. There will be ads, but that's about it. So basically, it's still free content. It will most likely go over to, I think it's on HBO Max. Well, I think it's on, well, Walker at least. I'm not really 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But for sure right now, you can catch all of Walker Independence right now on thecw.com. And you can also check out our episode reviews. We've done one for every single episode of the season. So you can go check that out after you watch your episodes. But if you have not, let's get down to it again. So here we go. So Walker Independence Season 2. Personal opinion, do I think, this is the $1 million question, will it get Season 2? I don't know. Legitimately, I do not know. We're literally in a transition point with the CW. This is a transitional year. We're in the first of 2 traditional years, where this is the year where Nexus Star, the new owners, have officially taken over, but right now they kind of joined in partway through, so they're not messing with anything the CW already had planned set in stone. They're literally just kind of finishing what the CW, their last leadership was planning, and that's it. So right now they are making the decisions of what shows they're going to renew and what show they're going to cancel. But in the grand scheme of things, from what we understand of their business plan right now, is that they're going to be gearing to more content that's specifically for the demographic of very older individuals for some reason. I don't know. Which, okay, yeah, if that's where the money is at, yeah, of course, they're a business at the end of the day. I've said this before many times at the start of when we were doing our reviews back in the fall, is that the CW, like every other network, is a business. They have to make money. Of the big 4, they're the closest one that could be grouped into network television. They're not part of the big 4 for a reason, but most times when you talk about scripted content, they're number 5 on the call sheet. So with them being now the least performer, and again, TV has changed dramatically in the last few years. Like, it's now about streaming. It's about split views, delayed views, because our lives have become busier. There's no guarantee that everyone's going to make time to sit down on their couch anymore to watch a show. These are all factors that they have to put into place. Like, the question is Walker Independence worthy enough? Not from a review standpoint, you know. Sometimes, yeah, a critically acclaimed show can still get a season 2, but at the same time, if the ratings aren't there, it may not get a season 2. There have been plenty of shows where have got a near universal praise, did not follow up. For better or for worse, if they were a one and done show, that's great. If they were still trying to tell more, but the ratings weren't there, it sucks. It does suck, but that's just the nature of the business, you know, because it is a business. And also, of course, you know, it also depends on Walker itself, the parent show. Will that get renewed as well? These are a lot of questions. You know, I have heard that there are plans in place in case the CW cannot pick up either shows. There are plans to try and continue those stories elsewhere, whether that is being picked up by another network or being picked up as for an HBO Max exclusive. Who really knows? For me, I would, as we'll get into the predictions, I would like to see a season 2. Am I clamoring for a season 2? Not particularly. I would want the cast to continue telling the story, because, as I said before, I think the story they were telling this past season was very unique. Was it something that we really need to get? Not per se, but definitely I do appreciate them putting in the effort of making a coherent story, not a perfect story, but a coherent story of how the Walker name began in Texas many centuries ago. But for me personally, I think it has an okay chance. Jared Padalecki does have some leeway And if they are thinking as a business standpoint, because again, I don't understand how All American, which is clearly geared toward young adults, is part of the larger demographic, but it is, again, a business. All American is pulling in the views somehow. They're going to renew it. Walker, from what I hear, is part of the top 3 of the CW's content. So I'm like, yes, it would make sense for Walker to keep going, and it would also make sense to keep the Walkerverse going at least for another year. Whether or not that's going to be the final case, we'll see very soon. But for me, I will give it a 50-50 chance that it will get renewed for another season. If anything, they could Superman and Lois it, where they'll just probably delay it till mid-season next year so it can get more time to stew in the pot. Because I don't think we really need to get both Walker shows on the air at the same time. I could be wrong, though, whatever the plan might be. But yeah, so for me, I also believe that the 13 episode order they did with this season, like, the strict 13 episodes, because again, like they did say before, the freshman seasons were not going to get any extensions because right now financially they're trying to save as much money as they can. So whatever episode order the CW previously gave them before the new owners take over, that was it. That was all they were going to order. That said, right now they're just focusing on the transition. And also it kind of worked because like I don't believe. Okay. Independence could have been stretched out to 22 episodes, 20 episodes, 18 episodes. Of course, it could have been. I could see them how they would have extended it. Was that something that would have hurt the quality? Maybe. Sometimes more is not great. Sometimes less is more. And I think 13 episodes was just sufficient. So I do hope if we come back for more, it'll be another 13 episode season, kind of tight. Just kind of like tell your story and then dip. So going into the midst of it. I said this in the finale review, story-wise, that they definitely did tell the story of how Abby Walker got to Independence, which is close by to where her future family would be living in when it comes to Grandpa Walker on the main show, then, of course, his sons, Liam and Cordell, and then now their generation with August and Stella. There's a through-line connection to how that is all playing out. What we don't understand really is that, okay, how was the first Walker child born? How did the Davisons end up being where they were at the start of the Walker-Davison conflict in the second season of Walker? There's a lot of questions because, at the end of the day, we kind of need to see how does the children start? How does Abby have her eventual children? How does Hoyt have his eventual children? How does the Davisons line continue? How does that family line continue? There's a lot of questions because of the three of the show's characters, that is kind of the big 3 that we kind of do need to find out at some point. Because again, I was not wholeheartedly thinking they were going to squeeze in everything in 13 episodes. I don't think that was ever going to be part of the plan. But from what they were able to show, it definitely introduced the characteristics, the identity of what who a Walker is, who a Davison is, who a Rollins is. And it paid off. It really did pay off fully. So story-wise for season 2, I really hope they continue that theme of, just continuing what's important. Let's not digress. Because the way season 2 is supposedly being teed up right now for what we are seeing at the end of season 1 is that, okay, yeah, we obviously have some pretty big questions left for Independence. How do we get these characters moving on to where they need to be in the future? But the main thing is, Tom Davison is still out there. He's been freed, and as presumably by his father. How does his father play into this? How does the potential child of Tom play into this? The Davisons will still be a big factor going into season 2. I just really hope they don't, split away. Because, again, that's the one thing about a prequel. You have a point to tell the story before the main story, regardless if it was needed or not. Because, again, there's some details we want to feel. Don't overstray. Obviously, don't rush it. I don't want literally Abby to suddenly find a new man, get pregnant, and have the next child next season per se. But I also don't want it to take it too long because again, the nature of right now how TV is that it does not get the opportunity to finish their stories. I mean, look at the CW, specifically since it's the same network we're talking about. Batwoman didn't get a proper finale. Legends of Tomorrow didn't get a proper finale. Dynasty, just a lot of shows, man. It was never properly given a chance to get a real finale. You can be notified ahead of time, hey, you're not coming back for more. Try your best to land the ship. You can land the ship the best you can, but it's not going to be a perfect landing. It definitely is going to be one that requires more time and setup and everything. Where That's what every show I think deserves at the end of the day, like the chance to tell their story. My wholehearted opinion is that Independence needs to continue the characters properly. I don't know what form that might take. Personally, it just is progressing their stories to the next level. I just really hope they don't really sideline and like, you know, put the Davison storyline all over the place just for the sake of like stretching out the story. Tell the story at a correct pace. You don't have to do the traditional, oh, it's going to take place the next year after. No, let's play around with the formula a little bit. You know, let's do some time jumps. Let's do some other things going on. Because, like, yeah, the thing about Walker itself is that you have children actors. Well, not children actors, but you have, like, actors that are growing up. That, you know, they're not as an adult where they can play any age as they kind of biologically look like it. They're still teenagers. So you can't, like, really say, like, we're going to have a 5-year time jump with the same actors when they look exactly the same. You can't really do that. Walker is solely adults. So, like, you can play around with that timeline so you can give the characters the time period to grow, because like, yeah, it's not, it's you can have that opportunity, you can have that advantage, you might as well use it to the retrospective of things. But yeah, I think season 2 would, if I have to specifically say a story purpose, it definitely is, you know, getting these characters to the next stage of their development where they would consider properly choosing partners to eventually create the next generation of their families that will eventually lead into Walker itself. So now going into like character-wise, each character specifically, we're just talking about the main. First of all, with every season of an ensemble show, or every TV show in general has an ensemble, so what am I saying by this point? There's always a character that always gets the short end of the stick. I feel like they don't get as much to do, personally speaking. Like they don't have like much involvement at some point. Number one is Kai. Kai, I think, was very he was utilized, I think, okay, but not used to his full potential. He was left out of Team Independence at the end, until the very end when he actually just joined up with them to take down Tom once and for all. He was never part of, like, you know, the cabal of, like, you know, people that Abby trusted to know this information beforehand. He was kind of like luring into Tom's side for a brief moment. So there was a lot of, you know, moments where, like, he was very integral to the plot, and then there was a point where he was not integral to the plot. And I feel like Kai needs some more story. Like, yeah, there was the subplot a little bit before the finale where, like, people from his past in San Francisco, a triad or a mafia, I forgot which one it was, came all the way to Independence to, like, basically kill him, and then, you know, eventually trying to make a deal with him. That plot line's still open. Like, you know, definitely, they mentioned that because the penultimate episode focused on about the team trying to, like, lure the railroad to go another direction, but Kai got mad at them because, wait, the railroad was supposed to be the deal so we can get the triads off our back, and now you screwed me over. You saved Caliban's people a little bit longer, but you screwed me over. That was unaddressed in the last 2 episodes. That still is a plot point at play that could definitely still screw up things for them going forward, when they come back or not. So that definitely is a plausible force at play here. As well as let's continue developing Kai's relationship with everyone else. We knew that he already has an established connection with Hoy, a little bit with Abby, someone with Caliban, with Gus. Definitely his relationship with Kate was something that, you know, we were leering into, that, you know, he does have genuine romantic feelings for her, but, you know, it's at the point right now, it's not reciprocated. I don't think Kate truly loves him yet, but she does respect him. She does care for him enough that she would want to team up with him in terms of like a partnership to run Hagen's. So definitely that is a good step in the positive direction for them, and hopefully that would, like, you know, Kai's role in season 2 would be to continue the triad storyline, as well as to kind of continue developing his relationship with Kate more. Whether that leads into a romantic relationship or just a better friendship, who knows? It is what it is at the end of the day, but I do want Kai to get more. I want him to have a much more bigger part to play. Next up is Caliban. Definitely, again, with him, he was like the ally of the group because, like, he wasn't truly a part of the town of Independence. Like, he wasn't a member. He still had his tribe nearby, but he assisted on so many conflicts. And now, because of his search for his sister, he lost the opportunity to lead his people, and thus a whole new leader took over. And now that leader wants to go to war with anyone around him because the railroad's going to destroy their tribal site, and he's not going to allow that. So that will definitely be like his big storyline going forward of like trying to wrestle with that, trying to like prevent war from happening. Especially since now Gus is the new sheriff of town, he could definitely get some real assistance on trying to like prevent that war from happening. And also the same thing, it's time for Caliban to step up to a leadership role because like that's all they've been like kind of hinting at. Like Caliban is worthy to be the next leader, to be the next chief. But obviously he has a good heart. He wants to help out everyone he can, which makes sense for his character because we've seen him help out Gus when he was injured. We helped him. Obviously, we saw him take care of Abby when she needed help in the pilot. So we know he has a great heart. He can be a great leader, but I feel like that his conflict for season 2 will be trying to balance all that, and as well as trying to stop this war, and then hopefully maybe take control of things so that he can have the better steer and like prevent any sort of travesty from happening. Because yeah, all of his story season 1 was great, and I do think it was a little bit rushed. Again, like it kind of is the double-edged sword for me. Where like, yeah, you don't want to like continuously set up stuff for a follow-up season if you may not get it. Better if you have the opportunity to tell that story here and now. It is necessary, but for me personally, I just don't want it to feel rushed because like, it felt like for me personally, like Caliban finding his sister pretty easily was like a little bit too much for me. And again, I feel like if they had got a proper full season, I feel like they would have stretched that out to a couple of episodes. So I do understand they were kind of like concising things around to kind of make everything work in 13 episodes. But that was just one of those cases where like that was kind of noticeable. So hopefully they kind of have a much more slow approach to it. Next up is Gus. Where for him, like, yeah, he's in a very interesting position now. He's now the new sheriff of Independence. After 2 rounds as deputy with different sheriffs, he's now taking over the role. He definitely felt more distant and more, of this like lone gunslinger vibe-ish when at the finale where he decided not to join the gang during their festivities dinner to celebrate their victory over Tom. He just decided to like, take a step back and try to like, just watch over the town. It could be the thing of like his morals, like, this is my responsibility now to keep the town protected, so I have to be aware at all times, even if that does mean stepping away from the people that I do consider to be part of my life, seriously. Especially with him, like, again, facing another near-death situation and surviving it. It definitely is going to probably take a little bit of like a mental toll on him, so to speak, and that will probably like make or break him as a leader. But I am very curious to see what more they're going to push him through them. Because I really thought Gus was going to die last season. I really did. I did not think he was going to live for that season. But he did. So that definitely does leave the opportunity to room for grow. If we do have time, I do think he's the one character I would love to see flashbacks for. Because like it seems like he lived a pretty interesting life between his time in the service, his relationship with his deceased wife and everything, his family back home. Like they're definitely... I think out of all that, he's the one that I'm the most intrigued of seeing like actual physical flashbacks for, and that could potentially like be a proper time to bring it up here in a possible season 2 because he is wrestling with his morals, he is wrestling with his emotional state. So that definitely would be the right opportunity to bring those flashbacks in should they decide to do that. Next up is Tom Davidson himself. We unpacked a lot about Tom in this season. I feel like he was the character that like I literally went for the most emotional changes for throughout the entire season. Because in the beginning, I thought he was just like a typical stereotypical villain where like, oh yeah, I'm this like, I look to be good, but I could be bad. Like trying to like draw that fine line to keep us as the audience guessing and keep Abby guessing. Because, as much as she saw his goatee, it's still not 100% confirmed. And then they're kind of slow shift to kind of make him neutral. Like, he isn't a bad person, but I would not say he's like a good person whatsoever. I really did not. The finale episodes kind of made him a little bit more weaker in terms of like, making him like a much more emotional person. Kind of creepy at times because like, again, he had this whole like fascination with Abby before she even met her. And then, that did count. That was helpful to an extent, but it also was creepy to another extent, if that makes sense. If I do say so myself. Right now, he's going to be in a very torn position where, like, he's lost his power in Independence. Everyone kind of knows he's a shrewd. He's already confessed to us. I'm sorry, the mic muted again. And now his dad's here to go save him. And also, what's funny is that we don't get to see his dad's face. It's literally just a background view. So I'm pretty sure they want to get someone big for that role, like someone big in the naming community to like, get him. I'm like curious to see who it could be. I'm actually like really kind of peaked about that. That was like a very interesting choice there. But I think personally, I think it would be smart for Tom not to go back to Independence anytime soon. I feel like, he needs to take some time away. He needs to, like, really just go with his dad and see what his dad has planned for him. Like, either whether that is, like, planning revenge against Independence or, like, trying to, like, set up operations somewhere else, whatever that may be. I feel like, logistically, Tom should be away from the main cast. I feel like that he needs to grow more. I think he needs to, like, figure out more of himself. More of his, possibilities to pursue next. Because he is a wanted man either way. He's a wanted man. That is unavoidable. And that definitely kind of changes the person of, like, how they react, how their attitudes is. And I want to see how does that affect Tom to make him a much more emotionally vulnerable person rather than this weird mess of a man that was very close-guarded that we saw throughout the entirety of last season. So I don't think Tom should be the villain again. Then again, I don't even think he was the villain in season 1. I feel like he was just the adversary that people estimated, and, like, there was a lot of twists and turns, and it's just it's going to be very questionable to see how that's all going to go. I was a little bit weird of the weird, him and Abby hooking up thing. I got scared for a brief moment in the finale because Abby did throw up. I chalked that up to, like, Abby just having all this, like, pent up anxiousness about just, hearing everything this man had to say about killing her husband, and then just having to, like, be confident in that moment to take that statement, and then having to, like, eventually release it because it was just, like, way too much at the end. That was all crucial and vital, so to speak. So now for that going forward in season 2, I definitely hope they don't explore that again. I feel like, definitely it should be more like that was a one-time fling, made a mistake, and that's about it. And we maybe never go for Tom having another significant other again. But then again, he may have a potential son, so that might also come into play there, whether or not that is. The hints seem like it is Tom's child, but obviously they're not being totally confirmation of that. It could be just another person we don't know about yet, but we shall see. We shall very much see about that. Next up is Kate. Kate has, I think, the most opportunity to, like, really bolster a lot this next possible season. With her now being the new owner or / co-owner of Hagen's, as well as she is still a railroad employee. She's still an agent, so she's still on her post. She's still trying to continue her mission, going to make sure everything's fine with the railroad system. So that definitely just justifies her staying in Independence longer. I feel like we should get more about that. I feel like Kate is like, there was the flashback episode, the penultimate episodes in the season, where Kate's flashback was, like, literally the shortest one. And it was the one I honestly had the most questions of, because there was just, I know, like, actions speak louder than the word, but that was the one case, like, I would have preferred some words, because I have no idea what the heck's going on here. I don't know who this character is. How does this really influence her character? I feel like Kate requires the most explanation going forward, because I feel like she had the most vaguest of stories. Like, yes, we know her personality, we know her tropes, we know what her beliefs are, but we don't know much about how she came up here. And that flashback scene definitely did pique my curiosity to see more of that, past life before she came to Independence and all that sort. So that's where I would like to see her, and I feel like she'll have the most room to grow and to bolster herself as a character in season 2. Hoyt has the most mature character development, as he was a ramshackle hooligan that roamed around town to town doing whatever he wants for sex, booze, and money. But now he's settled. He's settled in Independence. He does have a potential want to have his own children someday, whether that is with Louisa or not. That still remains to be seen, but that there's other people in the town, so that does keep things open for possibilities. We know a future Rollins child is in the books. We know that already. So it's a matter of question of when is that going to be? When are we going to see that? And that's what I really want to see in season 2 as he continues to grow in a regular way. Like, still be his core self, but also still become older, become wiser, trying to, like, gain that confidence. Because, like, the episode 1 Rollins we saw, and then the episode 13 Rollins are two similar but different people, and that kind of, gives you the most leeway to, like, get more out of him, especially since it is the same actor who played him in Walker coming back to do the ancestor self in this show. It definitely does consider more of the option of, like, you get to play with him a little bit more. You get to, like, grow him a little bit more that the other Hoyt wasn't able to achieve. And that kind of like, excites me a little bit as they, continue onward. Whether or not he and Louisa ends up together, I really don't know, nor do I really have like a preference right now. He has to have a child at some point. We just, need to find out who the mom is going to be, or whether or not that it's going to happen. But like at this point, like it's going to happen at some point. So we'll see how it goes. And lastly, we have Abby, where Abby has had the most challenging few months of like, she lost her husband. She's in a whole new town. She basically faked her death in the eyes of her family and all the city of the East Coast. She took down technically the man that shot her husband, as well as, kind of explored, tinkled the lines of like potentially moving on from her husband. Which in the same thing is kind of like the same feel as Walker, the main show, where, Cordell lost his wife in the first episode, and, Abby here lost her husband in the first episode as well. So it kind of like opens the gate of like, well, eventually Cordell started dating again and started like, going after other women. So I'm like, will that be the case with Abby? Like, obviously Tom was a mistake. It definitely felt like a mistake. She knows that was a mistake. But you never know. Like, there's still other good options out there within the town of Independence. Obviously, we can't. I really hope it's not Hoyt. I really don't. Actually, that was my one fear when they were promoting the show back when it was announced and when we got the first images, where I initially thought like, oh my God, they're going to pair them up. Like, because in Walker, when Hoyt was still alive in the first season, he had a very much of a close kinship with Abby Walker, i.e. Grandma Walker. They were very close with each other, which is actually quite funny because like, they kind of acted like, in another life, maybe they could have, swooned with each other, but that didn't end up happening. So with here, with the task ahead of them is that, I think people just speculate like they could have hooked up, and it's like, well, that could have been like very weird-ish per se. I don't know 100%. They definitely never specify anything back in the present day stuff, so they could keep that door open. I'm not really sure. It's like the more you start thinking about the kind of like the more creepy it gets. So the writers know what they're doing, so hopefully whoever ends up being the mother of Hoyt's future child will definitely not be anyone we know, hopefully, or someone that's like disconnected, hopefully. That's just my prayer there. But with Abby's case, like to go back to Abby for a second, because I think I kind of derailed with Hoyt there. Yeah, I feel like Abby's is going to continue finding her footing in this town. Definitely she was kind of like arriving, kind of like having to realize the spark that this town has for her, like, to have a new beginning. And now she has it, like now she's able to like fully step down on her foot and like start to develop this new personality to herself, this new life for herself, and see where that can all take her at the end of the day. Where does that take her in life? Has she already met the father of her future child? I don't know. Has she already done him? I hope not. But yeah, it definitely does like continue questioning the motifs and everything, with everything that we know already and everything that we've seen. Like definitely it is, what is something that we have to believe that we're heading to. Like, there will be someone else for Abby down the road that will give her the greatest gift of all, which is a child. But when will that be? Who knows? Will the show actually get to it? I really don't know. But we'll see how it goes. We'll all see how it goes. But for Abby, that's what I would just like her to like, continue finding her footing. Maybe not deal with the romantic side a little bit. Just kind of take a break. Just trying to like, keep the town of Independence secure and safe from the many, many threats that that threatened it somehow, hilariously. But yeah, that's what I kind of hope to see personally through and through. And if they will get a second season, which I hope they do, definitely they'll have the opportunity to continue to tell the story they want to tell in a very nice, organic way that doesn't feel like forced or rushed or anything of the sort. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where season 2 could take us if we do get one, and I'm very excited about it. But for me, that's all I gotta say on it right now. Hopefully we will get to come back for more episodes of Walker Independence to review and enjoy, but until now, that's about it. We could just speculate and hope. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. Let me know in the comments below what do you want to see in a second season of Walker Independence. Let's talk about that below. As always, let's have a conversation. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the 2 from ActionX, giving my predictions on the hopeful second season of Walker Independence. If you want to know what we're doing on What's the 2 besides our Walker Independence videos. Right now we're doing Perry Mason's season 2 episode reviews that come out each and every Monday nights after their brand new episode on Monday nights as well on HBO and HBO Max. If you don't care about Walker Independence, you still have one more thing if you want to. Next week we are posting our season 1 no spoilers edition review, where basically we'll be reviewing Walker Independence in a non-spoiler fashion for anyone who has not checked that out yet. And then after that, that's it. That's the end of our coverage for Walker Independence, hopefully for the season. Hopefully there will be more. But otherwise, that's it for now. That's going to be it. But if this is the end of the road for you, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell and follow us on social media. But until then, until hopefully we get to see each other again in another round of reviews, or maybe next week. Hope we get to see you then. But until then, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.